Afternoon and welcome to the Power Hour on Revive FM 94.0 with your host today, myself, Louise Power. This show is about community matters, diversity and inclusion, a platform for women, leadership, entrepreneurship and inspirational stories. And today, boy, do I have a woman of inspiration. I am so happy and so honored to have Michelle Grant here today. She is an inclusion and belonging consultant from Santander. She's here with me in the studio. I'm so blessed and so honored to have you here, Michelle. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Louise. I'm excited for the conversation.
And yeah, just thank you so much for, I know we spoke some months back and arranged a day in advance for International Women's Month. We've had International Women's Day, it's Women's History Month, and we're doing a continuation of that celebration. Certainly when I spoke to you, your story was, took my breath away. It was really inspirational. We had so much in common as well. It just felt really natural when we spoke. And I'm just so glad that, you can be here to tell your story, talk about where you're coming from, speak to the nation about where you are now, and really just be such an inspiration. So many people and so many women as well that will be listening and that will be, thinking about their journey as well.
Thank you.
So I'll let you just introduce yourself a little bit and, who you are and where you are now, what you're doing.
Fantastic. Yeah. So Michelle Grant, Inclusion and Belonging Consultant. I've worked for Santander since 1993.
Yeah.
So where do I start? Okay.
Do you want to start a little bit with your backstory? Because Michelle has had such a colourful backstory, so much resilience, and really just paved the way for your decisions and where you are now. So maybe just start with where was you born? Which side of town did you come from?
Yeah, so I was born in South London, and my mum and myself, we moved to Hertfordshire in 81. So a big change of scenery. So coming from South London, going up to Hertfordshire, bit of a culture shock for me. I came back to South London in about 1987 when I was about 13.
Yeah.
Had quite a difficult childhood. There was a little bit of trauma in the family, some mental health problems, and I ended up in foster care between the ages of 13 and 17.
Wow.
So when I actually joined Santander, I'd finished my A-levels, and after going to sixth form, it's like, what do you do next? So I took a year out, not really doing much. And then I went, I better get myself a job. So I went down the careers office, and the first job that came up was Abbey National. And I really enjoyed the stability it gave me. So it was like being part of a family, working in the branch. And I was able to progress by 2003, I progressed to become a branch manager.
Yeah.
Throughout the time that I was in the branch, I studied alongside my work, and I got a lot of support from my managers, which was great. So I was able to become a branch manager, and I did that for 11 years. And then after that, I moved over to the world of business banking, and I got totally embroiled in that. I absolutely loved being around the entrepreneurs. I found them so inspiring, hearing their business plans, seeing them come to fruition. And I wanted to be able to give them as much support as I could, going out in the community, networking. I also became involved with the university, so meeting students that wanted to start their own businesses and taking part in the boot camps. And their enthusiasm rubbed off on me. And I actually went back to uni, or started uni as a mature student in 2018. So I literally graduated last year, business management and innovation.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. That's so amazing.
Thank you. So in the time that I was at uni, I actually changed roles as well. The degree that I was doing brought me into contact with the research and reports around gender pay gap, ethnicity pay gap. And I was researching about culture and what companies were actually doing, including my company, to actually close that gap. And I was fortunate enough to move over into the world of HR and inclusion and belonging. So I feel that, you know, the academic background did support me with that transition.
Yeah, it's amazing. You've done so much, and it's really is inspiring. And you said there was other entrepreneurs that you was in contact with, that you was inspired by, and I'm really I'm inspired by what you saying, that you went to the job centre and there was that opportunity, and then you got the chance to work for Santander. And I'd just like to know, you know, where you got your resilience from at that time, because of course you'd been through so much, but yet you were still able to have something to hang on to.
Yeah, so it was actually Careers Connections. So they're still around. They're now the Careers Enterprise.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're a fantastic organisation that supports young people into getting into the world of work. So I found my resilience through reading books. So I read the whole works of Maya Angelou, her autobiography, I Know Why a Caged Bird Sings. I got a lot of strength from reading about the situation that she was growing up in America, and how she overcame her obstacles. So I used to lose myself in lots of books. So English literature and art were my A-levels that I did. And I used to do a lot of painting and a lot of drawing, because what that does, it gets you focused in the present and in the moment, and it allows you to tap into your creativity and your power. So I love that.
Wow, it's just brilliant. And I every time you're speaking, I feel so much of myself, and I think there's a lot of women that will be listening and that can really connect with you and parts of your story, and just how sometimes whatever it is that we can connect with, despite our own adversity, we create opportunity just through connecting with something that we love and we're passionate about, that takes us away kind of from that moment. And so you spent that time in foster care, and then you went on to get some support from the Careers Connections. And what was that like during the period of growing up without that parental support? Because I think you and I were speaking a lot about social mobility, and how in those first real formative years, not having, you know, there's so many young people, and, you know, I know that a lot of corporations need to take into consideration when going into employment and recruitment about the different journeys that we all take. And there's so many people that don't have the same opportunities, don't have the same access. And for example, if they don't come from a two-parent family, or they don't have stability, they'll make very different choices, or you just don't know what you don't know. And it'll be really nice if you could sort of share what that was like, maybe in comparison to your peers, and seeing them have so much support, but yet you were alone. Although you had that strength, you were still alone in that journey.
So I've been blessed with the people that have come into my life. So the school that I joined in South London, Bonus Pastor, straight away I was able to make a network of friends that stayed with me right throughout my school time. So I had, even though things were going wrong at home, I had the stability of my circle of friends, and my best friends, Lisa Kelly and Sharon Logan. I'm giving them a shout out. Hi, Karen. Well, I'm giving them a shout out. But, you know, my friend had that stability, and I was able to spend a lot of time at her house, and my friend Wilma as well. Her mum actually took me in. So, you know, even though things were very difficult and I moved around a lot, you know, I was able to tap into my friends who gave me that support. And actually the school itself, they believed in me and they believed in my achievements. Wow. So funny enough, I got certificates for like public speaking and progression across the curriculum. So they tapped in to the needs. And, you know, my friends' mums, they would like look after me and nurture me. And then when I joined Abbey National, the manager that I had, Linda Moore, she was phenomenal, and she took me under her wing like matron. she ran the branch like a military operation. But, you know, by having those people that believe in you and can see that you've got potential, it's sort of, you don't want to let them down, and you aspire for more.
Having a strong network is so important. And it's profound that, you know, brilliant that you was able to realize that from such a young age, because there's lots of young people that are out there who maybe don't have the same networks and are not able to think so far ahead. And when you spoke about your manager at Santander, and her giving you that incubation and her giving you that support, I remember in a similar situation, never forget his name, Colin Bartlett, when I went to work at Camden, and you know, he really incubated me and supported me. And I think it's really important to think about when we're going to situations and when we're coming from a situation and we're going into a workplace, but yet we're having sort of training. It's really good if organizations can think about the mentoring approach, the support approach, especially when somebody's coming into, you know, that kind of position for the first time, or they're in training, or they're still developing.
Yes.
And I think it's important, as much as we need the education and the qualifications, we also need the personal development bit.
Yeah. So the YTS scheme was a 2-year scheme, and it allowed you to get a certificate in financial services practice. So you had to do that off your own time, like distance learning, but it was a start, and it gave you an insight into the wider banking industry. And a lot of the things that it predicted actually came into fruition. So it was good. And then during the time when I moved up to Hertford, I was actually pregnant with my first son, Anton, in 96. And we'd resolved things at home. So my mum was in a totally different place mentally and physically. And she was able to then transform into this amazing grandma. So she might not have been the best mum when I was a teenager. God bless her soul, because she's passed on now. But suddenly when I was pregnant with Anton and I went up back to Hertford, suddenly she flourished. And the support was there, and I was able to go back to work, and I had a whole network. So I've actually got 2 sons, Anton and Darius, and you know, I had them in quick succession. And then it was all about, you know, getting focused back onto work. And you know, I did mortgage qualifications like CMAP, and then I was able to become a branch manager because I had another manager, Jill, who then took me under her wing. And when she weren't going to meetings, she would say, Michelle, I need you to go to this meeting. I need you to step up. You know, and that's how I got to progress.
Santander sounds like a phenomenal organization. It sounds like they really incubate people and support people that really want to push themselves to go forward as well. And I love that. I love to hear when organizations are actually, you know, people speak about diversity and inclusion, and you know, we have so many things going on now, even more so since Black Lives Matter. But actually, it seems like even before that, you know, within your organization, there was doing a lot around supporting your career and how, of course, they could help you to bridge those gaps. Because I'm thinking so many intersections of coming from, you know, from yourself, a woman of color, you know, coming from socio-economical
challenge.
I understand that journey. I've been there myself, and it makes me feel so proud, you know, so proud of you and your journey, and the journey of so many women like us that have overcome the odds. It's almost like you can see the other road you could have gone down, where you could have been, in comparison to where you are today. So I think it's an absolute honor. And when you then had your 2 boys, and of course you're there and you're bringing them up and everything else, and then you said that you was then a branch manager. So tell me how that led up to sort of where you are today in as an inclusion belonging consultant.
Yeah, so as you know, the branches are closing left, right and centre, and we had Alliance in Leicester, Bradford and Bingley, Abbey Nationals, and some towns would have more than one. So eventually they started, you know, amalgamating, closing down. They called it optimisation.
Right.
So at the time I was in lively Enfield, so I'd moved from Welwyn Garden City. I'd gone to Hertford while the boys were growing up, and then my last branch was Enfield, and those branches merged. So I moved over to Hoddesdon to consider my career options, because I could have just taken a redundancy package at that point.
Right.
But it was like, no, there was something more to happen here.
Mm-hmm.
And again, another incredible manager, Susie Ricotta, she supported me in that transitional time. And in the meantime, the business manager who worked upstairs left to start his own business. And she was like, "You'd be phenomenal at this." And I was like, "I know nothing about business. You know, I know about looking after my customers. I know about looking after my staff, but business is a whole different remit." However, again, she believed in me. I took the leap and it was phenomenal. Like, you know, you just learn, you go out there, you go and network with people, you understand what they do, and you learn as you go. And then, of course, the academic side of it as well has supported that. So I did that for about 6 years and I really got stuck into the heart of the community. So Hoddesdon's like a business improvement district, and they've got a lot going on. They've got a town centre manager. So when we would have events, everybody would flock to the Santander in Hoddesdon. You know, we'd have like 60, 70 people all crammed into the branch. We'd put on some food. The local businesses,
real community spirit.
So I loved it. It was a phenomenal time. And again, the team, you know, they'd be working from 8 o'clock in the morning, then they'd be there till 8 o'clock at night supporting me with my events. So I was a bit of a pain in the backside, but they all came out and they supported. And that's what it's about. It's about teamwork and leadership.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, it's you know, you can see that because of your managers that you had, and all of them intrinsically giving you so much different, all different styles, but you know, then you was able to, that influence as well, that supportive influence of leadership then has taken you to be, you know, adopt adopt all of the great leadership styles for yourself now as well.
Yeah, and I never really thought about it, but the ones that helped me to thrive, I'm sorry to be biased, but they were matriarchs.
Yeah.
When I think back, I didn't really think about it at the time.
Yeah.
Not saying that we haven't got fantastic men managers, we have, but it's just, I don't know what it is. It's empowerment, isn't it?
It really is. And you cannot be what you cannot see as well. So there were other women that were supporting you that realized your potential, saw their self as well, and realized that there was so much that they could do to help you to get where you was. And in saying that, of course, being a woman of color in the position of inclusion and belonging, then, you know, there's so much, because of your own journey, you will be able to enlighten your organization about, because you've lived some of those experiences. And I think it's very different to sometimes leading inclusion and belonging. I'm not saying that you can't lead inclusion and belonging if you haven't had those lived experiences, but I feel like it's a superpower with a cape.
Yeah.
If you have had those experiences on top of the fact that you're doing inclusion and belonging consultancy.
Yeah. So my parents were very, very sociable people. My mum's from Guyana, South America. My dad was from Jamaica. And between them, I've got lots of siblings. So I've got 6 brothers and 6 sisters in you know, just one of me from my mum and dad combination, but I've got lots and lots of siblings. And my parents married a few times as well. So we've got lots of different ethnicities.
Okay.
And my mum's husband is Irish.
That's nice.
So my boys grew up with an Irish granddad who was very laid back. Yeah. You know, so we've seen the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
You know, some of my siblings are mixed race, some of my siblings are black. So
yeah,
we've all got very different perspectives on life. And you know, you have to be able to take a step back and have compassion for where people are coming from, and also believe that people can change.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it, to come from a blended family network or a blended friendship network. And Sarah Farmer was on last week. We spoke about something similar, and then I had some of my family members on the week before. We spoke about something similar, about the fact that, you know, with creating these relationships, and sometimes when I speak about diversity, equity, inclusion, it's about just having a coffee with somebody from a different culture or nationality, different background, just being invested in finding out where different people are from.
Yeah. And it's really helped my boys. You know, when they were born, they actually had 5 grandparents. So their granddads Dominica, on their dad's side. My dad's Jamaican. Then we got Tony, who's Irish. So that's 3 granddads.
Amazing.
And then their grandmother, one's from Jamaica, and she celebrated her 89th birthday last Saturday, which was a phenomenal celebration.
Birthday, Grandma.
Grandma Bertrand, yeah. So, and then my mum's from Guyana. So my boys grew up with a very balanced perspective, and they grew up in Hertfordshire, which is very different to South London. So the majority of their friends are white, because that is the demographic down there.
Yeah.
Whereas, like even when I was working in Hoddesdon, it's Italian community.
Yeah.
That's the heart of it. So, you've just got to be able to adapt yourself to your surroundings and the people that are in front of you.
I love it. We are going to go on a short break, but please do not touch that dial. I have Michelle Grant, Inclusion and Belonging Consultant from Santander Bank. From Santander Bank. We'll be right back.
Let's connect with the Holy Quran. Minhaj Dawah Project distributes the Holy Quran in plain simple English for free. You can donate £3 and sponsor a Quran to a loved one, a neighbor, a colleague, or a friend. We distribute Qurans totally free of charge across the whole UK, including in prisons. Please call us now to contribute on 0300 030 1951 or email us on dawah@minhajuk.org.
Taj Grill invites you to the world of Pakistani cuisine. With every dish prepared to perfection, why not try our sizzling mixed grill, our famous masala fish, or choose from our selection of freshly made curries and allow the Taj Grill experience to speak for itself. Visit us at 72 Ilford Lane or 508 Ilford High Road, or call 0208 262 6476. We also offer catering for all your events. Call us for more information.
A Sadqa Jariyah unlike any other. This year, Allah has blessed us with the incredible opportunity of illuminating the interior of the Dome of the Rock Masjid, the exact place where the Prophet ﷺ was ascended into the heavens. This new lighting system will illuminate the central areas inside the Dome of the Rock. Gain the reward of praying in Masjid Al-Aqsa and give today. Visit muslimhands.org.uk.
With over 40 years experience in the industry, Plachette Carpets is the place to go for all your carpets, laminates, linos and wood flooring. We have an established network of suppliers, which means we can offer some of the best prices in town. We offer free estimates, free measurements and now even free fitting. Call us now on 0208 472 8568 or visit us at 157 Plachette Road, Upton Park, London, E13 0QZ.
Waris Food Store, the place to go for all your meat and groceries. We stock thousands of items from fresh fruit and veg to all your favourite Ramadan food products. Based at 420 Hoe Street in Walthamstow, we can deliver anything you need right to your doorstep. Just give us a call on 0208 521 0000. Waris Food Stores is now also available on Uber Eats.
Through your hands, we can shape the future. By supporting an orphan, by quenching someone's thirst, by empowering people through life-changing livelihood projects, by responding to those in urgent need. The future lies in your hands. Muslim Hands, united for the needy.
If you want to advertise your business on Revive FM, then visit www.revivefm.co.uk or contact our sales team now on 07944 565616. That's 07944 565616. Advertise with Revive FM.
Revive FM
94.0. On the radio.
On your mobile.
And online.
Hello, welcome back. You are locked into Revive FM 94.0 on the Power Hour with your host today, myself, Louise Power. This show is about community matters, diversity and inclusion, a platform for women, leadership, entrepreneurship and inspirational stories. And today I have Michelle Grant, Inclusion and Belonging Consultant from Santander Bank. Michelle has been with me this morning. She has blessed us this morning with telling us her backstory and you know, everything from her, you know, her own experience about being in foster care to where she is now working in the corporate bank. And I'm just so glad to have you on the show. So welcome back,
Thank
Michelle.
you.
So before the show, you were sharing with me your journey at Santander as well, from joining the branch to where you are in the corporate sort of side of things as well. And it would just be really good if you could just extend a little bit more on your role as a diversity and inclusion consultant.
Thank you. Yeah. So as with many companies, there was a response to George Floyd's murder, Black Lives Matter protests. Santander actually, on the first initial reaction, was to actually acknowledge and look around the table and say, well, we haven't actually got the senior leadership representation where we need to be. And they acknowledged that, and they brought Akala in, who spoke to our CEO, and he gave a good grassroots conversation about the difference in class and the challenges that Black people face, which was amazing. And they launched the Black Inclusion Plan with 3 pillars: leadership, allyship, networks. And part of the leadership is to double the Black representation by 2023. So I was fortunate enough to support the design and the implementation of the Accelerating New Black Talent Programme, which was phenomenal. And we had lead mindset, we had sponsorship circles, we had Dr. John Amici, and we had the phenomenal Dr. Michelle Santwa, who did Black Experience workshops. As you know, that one of the biggest challenges is actually being able to meet and build relationships with senior leaders. You know, especially if you're working on the front line, you're in a branch, you're never going to come across the senior leaders to be able to actually understand their career paths. So the sponsorship circles was a phenomenal part of the program that helped people's career mobility, helped them come up with a strategy with support from senior leaders who knew what areas of the bank are growing and how to direct your skills and how to present yourself and become more visible.
Social mobility is such an important part of this journey, because like you were saying, if you're not going to be having contact with anybody, I remember when I became a board of trustee and I was exposed to, you know, being a board member. Before that, I thought those roles were really out of my reach. Because if you don't understand what that role is or how people get there or what they do, and then when you begin having conversations, it's almost like, wow, you know, not that it's easy, but you know that it's something that you're more than capable of doing. But unless somebody kind of tells you about it and takes you on that journey about how to open those doors and where those windows are, then actually you don't know. And when you was talking about leadership for Black people of colour within the actual banking or the bank, your bank yourself, who wants to double the leadership for people of colour, it really made me think about, you know, how we need to get this information to people so that they know where to go and what to do. And how long was the course for? How long did you stay on the leadership course for?
So it was roughly about 9 months, but we're actually due to graduate next week, Friday.
Oh,
so I'm really
there's
excited.
Lots going on. There's we've had birthdays, we've got graduations. This month is feeling really good.
Yes. So technically, you know, if you count the graduation event, it's actually been a 12-month journey, and it's been phenomenal. And we've seen, you know, 4 ladies actually step up and progress into senior leadership, and then we've seen lots of people do.
Well done, Santander.
And we've seen lots of exciting career moves. And next Friday is going to be a real celebration, and we've got Dr. Patrick Vernon coming along to give a speech, and he launched a big campaign, 100 Great Black Britons. Yeah. So that book's phenomenal, and it celebrates the accomplishments of the Afro-Caribbean community in the UK.
Yes.
So I can't wait to hear his story about how he drove that campaign, and also Windrush.
Yeah.
You know, he's done such phenomenal work. And then he was a director in the NHS. He's got so many accomplishments. He's a doctorate now, so honorary doctorate. So yeah, I can't wait to hear from him.
It sounds. I want to come. I want to be in the celebration. And we spoke about inspirational women during our conversation.
Yes.
And there's some inspirational women that Michelle really wants to shout out. People that have been part of either the program at Santander, or people that have just been an inspiration to you along the way. So I'll give you the floor to light those women up and give them some airtime.
Yeah, so Dr. Michelle Santois, I met about 2-3 years ago. She did the book clubs that introduced me to the works of James Baldwin. I already had been reading Toni Morrison, but she would like take apart the work and really analyze it and what it means for us and our identity. I actually got an affirmation in front of me that I did from one of her workshops, and it's, I attract love, joy and positive energy and phenomenal opportunities into my life. And I just think, you know, into my life and career.
Say it again. We've got to hear it one more time.
Yeah, I attract love, joy and positive energy, phenomenal opportunities into my life and career. You know, that was just something that I come up with off the back of one of her workshops recently. So she's a positive influence in me. And, you know, it's all about being in the present, but also acknowledging our ancestors. And she really brings that dynamic. Denise Hillerman, Lead Mindset. I've done her program twice now. And both times I've flourished. Both times I've been able to create myself a vision and a purpose and drive it through. You know, her work never ends. So then a phenomenal lady, Tanya Gordon, who a part of Moving Ahead did the sponsorship circles. So Tanya, you know, she gives up a lot of her time. She coaches, she's bold leadership. She's a phenomenal role model. Yetunde Hoffman.
Yes.
So Solaris is an executive leadership program specifically for Black women. So we had a couple of our ladies go on the program, our most senior Black women in the organisation go on her program last year. Again, they flourished. They graduated last Friday, which was a big celebration. And again, Santander are going to put 3 more ladies onto the program this year, which is phenomenal.
That is really good. So Santander are going to send 3 Black women onto Solaris for leadership, specifically to support Black women.
Yes.
That's exactly like that is, you know, change making. That's real change making. That's real social mobility. And yeah, I think it's great that we're seeing tangible things happen. And I hope there's other organizations and other financial institutions that will be taking, you know, the lead of Santander and taking some of that useful information and thinking, okay, we need to be thinking about doing the same thing as well.
So, I mean, part of the Black Experience workshops that really impacted me is moving away from just thinking about your individual career path to moving to how are we as a Black leadership cohort moving as a collective. You know, we lift as we rise. You heard that phrase, but, you know, for Black women, it really is a thing about, you know, the community. I'm the mother of 2 sons, so it's important for me to be, they're still looking at what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? So you still got to be pushing yourself.
And what as having 2 sons, do you think there's a difference between our journey? Of course, we don't walk the shoes of a Black man, but we have Black boys. Do you see the difference within your industry in terms of how you've been able to advance to maybe your Black male colleagues?
It is a tough one.
Yeah. Do you think it's been easier for Black women in your industry than it has been for Black men? Or do you think it's just a similar line?
I think kind of across the banking industry as a whole, we could do a lot more.
Right.
We could do a lot more, definitely.
So similar kinds of support that Black women are getting, you think there could be something that maybe specifically creates something for men of colour as well?
Yes.
Because I tend to find that within the diversity, equity, and inclusion space, we don't have enough elevation all around for underrepresented groups. So I think all around for underrepresented groups, whether it's race, sexuality, disability, neurodiversity, I think there's so much to be done across the board. But I do find that we're looking at gender, we're looking at for something around for women, but Black men, they don't seem to be, I don't really see anything that kind of incubates Black men and supports them.
Yeah.
In their careers.
I've recently met the brilliant Horatio Georgeston. After we finish, I'll link you in with him. He's got YDW, and it's an organisation that inspires Black men and the community. Well, it's ethnicity as a whole, really.
Yeah.
He runs fantastic debating sessions and leadership programs. So I have introduced him to our ethnicity at work. So there is definitely more that we could be doing. Definitely.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Because when I think about our journeys and the boys, your sons are older now, but my son's 8, and I think there gets to a point where that baby boy becomes a man, and then you do have that worry, don't you, where it's like you're going to go out into the world and there's so many different things geographically to worry about, from the violence to the kind of the overt racism that Black men come across. There's just so much going on, and I have that. How did you deal with sort of like those worries, or did your sons grow up in an area where, of course, you were saying that they were sort of the minority, but did you have any worries around your sons?
Yeah, there's always concerns. They're in their 20s now, but there's always the challenge is still there. From when Darius hit 18, basically, he started going out, and when they get in the car with their friends, so you do have those worries. I don't know how you can ever get over that, really.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's constantly something that I think actually we have to always consider, right? Because of course I realized only recently, I think, because my son was a baby, but then when George Floyd passed away and then Black Lives Matter and everything happened, I then realized I didn't have the same experience that my son's going to have because I wasn't a boy. And as a Black boy, he's going to have so much of a different experience and have so many worries that I wouldn't ever have to think about.
Yeah.
And it's really made me think over the last couple of years that even as somebody of color, I didn't have to think about those things. But yeah, I do now because I've got a boy child.
In 2019, my son literally put a backpack on and said, "Oh, I'm going to Colombia for 3 months, Mum." He actually went to Colombia for 3 months, and it's like, oh my God, they never stop. You don't know what they're going to come out with next. But he went out there.
But that is inspirational.
Yeah.
That is inspirational because there'll be other young men looking up to him and what he done at 18 as well, right?
Yeah.
So putting the backpack on and then going off. And
he went off, and I hadn't done anything like that when I was that age. I was in South London and I was getting on with my life, but I never thought, oh, let me just put a backpack on and go traveling. So I'm proud.
but that's another thing. Did you have the opportunity to think in that way, or was it more of a survival? And hold that thought, because we're going to go on a break, because I'd like to dig a little bit deeper into that actually. So please do not touch that dial. You are locked into the Power Hour with myself, your host today, Louise Power, and my guest, Michelle Grant. We'll be right back. Do not touch that dial.
If you want to advertise your business on Revive FM, then visit www.revivefm.co.uk. Alternatively, contact our sales team now on 079 44 56 5616. That's 079 44 56 5616.
Thinking of selling or letting your property? Need someone reliable to find the best prospect for your home? Well, look no further. Cameron Adams is here to take care of all your needs. Our professional and experienced team will guide you through the entire process and ensure you find the right client for your property. For a no obligation quotation, contact us now on 0208 558 2000. That's 0208 558 2000. Or visit us at 30 Church Lane in Leytonstone. Cameron Adams, always at your service.
Does your pizza excite you? The London Pizza Depot invites you on a journey with our worldwide inspired pizzas. To the smoke and jerk drums of Jamaica, to savor the Caribbean hot, to sunny California, to enjoy the greatest invention, the Cali cheeseburger. Transport yourself with every bite. Our authentically prepared hand-stretched dough, freshly diced veg, finest cuts of halal meat, and our 100% mozzarella cheese ensures the delivery of a masterpiece every time. Visit www.londonpizzadepot.co.uk or our branches in Ilford or Plaistow. Now you can enjoy buy one pizza get one free every Tuesday. T's and C's apply.
With over 40 years experience in the industry, Plachette Carpets is the place to go for all your carpets, laminates, linos and wood flooring. We have an established network of suppliers, which means we can offer some of the best prices in town. We offer free estimates, free measurements and now even free fitting. Call us now on 0208 472 8568 or visit us at 157 Plachette Road, Upton Park, London, E13 0QZ.
This is Aisha. Her father died in an accident at a very young age. She lives with her mother and siblings. There are millions like Aisha who do not have access to the very basics of life, resulting in her and many others not being able to attend school. Through Minhaj Welfare Foundation, your charity is dedicated towards supporting the full needs of orphans and needy children around the world. Donate today. Call us now 0300 30 30 777. Or visit us on minhajwelfare.org.
Looking to get your finances in order? MR Accountants has you covered. We provide a full range of accountancy and taxation services, including annual and management accounts, self-assessment tax returns, VAT, bookkeeping, and payroll services. We ensure you're kept up to date with the latest legislation, and our client-focused approach helps us plan your business finances from savings to investments. We are MR Accountants. Visit our website at mraccountants.com or call us on 0203 432 9138.
Let's connect with the Holy Quran. Minhaj Dawah Project distributes the Holy Quran in plain simple English for free. You can donate £3 and sponsor a Quran to a loved one, a neighbour, a colleague or a friend. We distribute Qurans totally free of charge across the whole UK, including in prisons. Please call us now to contribute on 0300 030 1951 or email us on dawah@minhajuk.org.
Revive FM
94.0. On the radio.
on your mobile.
And online.
Hello and welcome back. Thank you for joining us today on the Power Hour with your host today, myself, Louise Power, and my guest, Michelle Grant. We are in the last half of the show, and Michelle has blessed us today by telling us her amazing and very, very inspirational story. I feel so happy to be in the studio with you today and just hearing your journey, which just has such an amazing impact on, for women, for people listening, for people thinking about what they're going to do with their careers, or just, how do I get there, and where will I get my resilience from, and what are some of the things? What are some of the things that executives, leaders, you're from Santander, there's other banks, there's other people that may be listening, other corporations. What things can they be imposing and creating and embedding as part of their culture, so that they can, have more Michelle Grants in their industry, and I think that's what we really need to be thinking about. We need to be thinking about how we can extend the opportunity for people that come from socio-economic and economical disparity, and that don't have the same access and opportunity. And before the break, you spoke about your son and the backpack, and you were saying, something like you would have been really good if, you would have liked to have done something like that. And I was saying, you probably didn't have the mental capacity to do that because you were surviving.
Yes,
definitely. At that time. So, and you also mentioned your mum and her having like mental health as well. And I know what that's like because my dad had mental health issues when I was young. So yeah, if you could just kind of share with us during that period, you know, what it's like for a young person, really, you know, because you are just really surviving, although you're doing this smiley front face role, and you're still learning, you're still reading and everything else. It's survival, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, as a youngster, you have to grow up really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And you take the baggage on your shoulders.
Yeah.
You take the guilt, you blame yourself for the things that are going wrong.
Yeah.
You know, being people of their time, you know, my parents, the way that they coped was, you know, self-medicate alcohol. Right. So what I mean? So alcohol played a big part in the social life that they led. And unfortunately, you know, sometimes it has overspills into other things. So, you know, we did suffer growing up, but then, you know, like I said, when my boys came along, my mum was in a completely different space and she just transformed, you know. That's why I say, you know, people can be one way, you know, when things aren't going right for them, but then later on down the line, they can totally change their outlook on life and change how they actually provide you support. So especially when it comes to family, you've always got to have that compassion and forgiveness, really.
Yeah. And I think I said earlier, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, if nobody's ever told you how you can do things better, or you've had that support, it's one generation to another, isn't it?
Yes.
Surviving on best you know how, and then that generation surviving on with the best you know how, and then you have people like yourself and myself that something clicks or something happens, or you meet someone like the people that you do in. Sorry, you was going to say something?
No, I was just thinking, you know, my boys had the benefits of their grandmothers and their grandparents, which, you know, gave them a more rounded outlook. Whereas my mum's mum died at the age of 26, having had 6 girls. So, and all those girls got split up. So my mum had a horrendous childhood herself. Do you see what I mean? So she didn't have any manual on how to grow up a girl.
That's
so,
it.
You know, who knows what they went through. But my dad's mum in Jamaica, I never got to meet her. So I never got the benefit of my grandmothers the way my boys have done. So yeah, I think it does change your outlook on life, doesn't it?
Definitely. And it goes in line with what my cousin Lorianne said when she was on the show a few weeks ago, because, you know, she was saying it sounds really good when you're thinking about you coming from a big family and everything else. But she said the advice that she was giving to other women was, even if you don't have those immediate family members like we have, our cousins, or like your children that have their grandparents, and of course your mum didn't have any support, and in turn you didn't have any grandparents, and that's why it's really good that we can pass on our experience and message and say to other people, find your tribe.
Yes, definitely. And who I didn't mention was Feluke Akinlosi, who runs Precious. And that is an organisation there for Black women in leadership, both in entrepreneurship and in corporate environments. And every year she has a big celebration, the Precious Awards, which Santander backed in 2021, which was amazing.
I need to meet all these wonderful women.
Yeah. And, you know, when you say about bridging the gap for Black men, Horatio Georgeson, he runs the Young Diverse World Changers, and he's phenomenal. And they have debates, live debates, where you see people talking about real issues, you know, issues that you might not necessarily be able to bring up at work, but then by being part of a debate and seeing how people present their arguments, you know, arguments such as, you know, do you have to conform to the majority demographic to be able to get on in the world? You know, when you're a minority, how do you hold on to your culture and your identity and become empowered? Or do you just, you know, become like a chameleon and code switch?
Yeah, because it's that pressure from having to code switch comes from feeling that otherness and not that unconscious bias that you're not going to be accepted if you're not one of the same, and maybe you're a minority in the room.
Yeah.
So you want to feel as though you're speaking in a way that is the cultural norm.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just so much, and I just feel like you definitely need to come back. What would you say to your younger 13-year-old Michelle now?
What would I say to her? Love yourself. I grew up with a lot of internalized racism, and the cultures that my parents grew up in, your proximity to whiteness was celebrated. Do you see what I mean?
Right.
So I grew up with a complex. I felt inferior.
Right.
And it's taken me until my 40s to actually be able to shake that off. And again, through the network of phenomenal women, another shout out for Dr. Michelle.
So i.e. the darker you are, then it's like it's almost as if sometimes within our own cultures they say it's a compliment if somebody says you're mixed. Well, for example,
they call it my mum used to call it fair skinned, which automatically says you're fairer, you're more beautiful if you're light. And it just so
colorism
happens, it just so happened that my baby sister Charlotte, she her dad's white, so she's a lot lighter than me, but she was more favored because of it. Do you see what I mean? And there's 7-year gap between us, but things were incredibly difficult for me between the ages of 7 going up to 13 because of that sort of outlook. And it's ingrained into the culture, because over in Guyana, they literally learn about British history, not about their own, taking pride into being Guyanese. So I mean, it was all about being British.
And I think that's something that we don't speak about enough, is that within our own cultures, first of all, we have different cultures and ways of doing things. Even if we're from the Caribbean, we have the same but similar ways of doing things. And then you have, for example, West African culture amongst the Caribbean culture, which will have similar and some of the same things. And within all of that, you have the colorism element, which is that we have within our own communities about how more acceptable you are because of skin color or because of class as well.
Yeah, definitely. And if you've grown up in Africa, I find the people that I come across that have grown up in Africa and they come over, they're like, well, we come from kings and queens, so it's like, whereas if you've grown up here and your class is a minority, you got your head down, you're trying to keep your mouth shut, fit in. It's a totally different perspective. And we did have a lot of different backgrounds on the Black Talent Program, and some people that had grown up in an African household, they were like, well, I didn't actually appreciate the struggles that people have over here as a Black community, growing up. They just didn't see it.
It's very different because of colonialism. The people that come from directly from Africa, for example, to here to study when they're a lot older, haven't been exposed to some of the outcomes of colonialism, because what happens is that our ancestors would, for example, would have gone from Africa to the Caribbean, and then from the Caribbean, that culture has been created off the back of the colonialism and because of off the back of slavery. And then you've got those people from the Caribbean years later that migrated here as part of the Windrush to integrate into this society, but of course were not really accepted. So my mum's generation, which would be like the first generation, were then had our generation. So though it's almost as if we're British with our ancestry of Caribbean ancestry, our African ancestry, but yet a lot of that has been lost because of what we don't know.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so pleased that we're welcoming Patrick next week, because, you know, he's got that book, 100 Great Black Britons. And, you know, Black people have been in Britain like over 400 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just happened with the Windrush. I mean,
No.
we've contributed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
even
let's
before the
celebrate
Windrush.
it.
Yeah. And actually, because the Windrush is always, we speak about the Windrush, we don't get an opportunity to speak about the fact that Black people were in England before.
Yeah.
And there wasn't racism because slavery hadn't, the era of slavery hadn't occurred. People were together as one at that point. There wasn't that because you're Black, you're a slave. That wasn't what happened at that particular time, you know. So the history, there's so much to talk about when it comes to why there are some of the issues that we have now present today, even down to some of the things that happen within our urban
and
areas.
It's, you know, having a healthy outlook on race actually helps your well-being.
Yes.
You know, because we're overrepresented in the prison system and the mental health system. We're not always handled in the right way.
Yeah.
And I'm coming from someone who's had experience where my mum, if she had got the help that she had needed, our family wouldn't have gone through the wars the way that we did. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. No, definitely. My dad also had mental health, and I remember speaking to him when he was better about his journey. And what I found for Black people that was going through mental health crisis was that they were not given the same similar support in terms of therapy, one-to-one kind of discussions. And there's actually a paper on it, and there is statistics about the fact that they were being sort of injected with really strong drugs and medication, and they were being monitosed and medicated, but yet they weren't having the therapy that they needed to actually get to the bottom of what the issues were. So unfortunately, there are still lots of institutional racism that, you know, in the healthcare system and otherwise, where they're having to go over some of these things and, you know, realize it's across the board actually where the work needs to be done. What are some of the things within your industry that you're thinking about and excited about, you know, going forward? Because we're coming to the end of the show. So where can people find you? Like, for example, LinkedIn or whatever.
I'm all over LinkedIn. So for me, you know, the momentum that got started through tragedy, you know, at the end of the day, we still need to be focused on sustaining the work that's been done.
Yes.
Rather than just thinking, oh, well, that was 2 years ago. We really actually, you know, want to elevate the Black community, become more productive, become more wealthy, prosperous.
Yes.
So, you know, also it's not just about the Black community. We've got many diversity strands. We've got the neurodiversity, we've got the social mobility, you know. We want to be able to, you know, we're doing a lot of work around menopause at the moment. So shout out to Teresa Winters. So it's about keeping women, their seniority, their experience, valuing them and saying, well, actually, you do have a career here beyond, you know, what changes you're going through.
Yeah, absolutely. Today has been so inspiring, aspiring, phenomenal. I always talk about my favorite quote by Shirley Chisholm, which is, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring your folding chair. Thank you for bringing your folding chair today.
Thank you.
It has been, I've learned so much, and it's been so valuable. There's so many takeaways, so many golden nuggets. I'm sure there are many people that this will reach. I hope it reaches lots of people within your organization where you work. I hope it reaches people within the financial and banking institutes that are, you know, in par with Santander, so they can learn from some of the fantastic programs, so they can adopt those in and practices in within their workplaces, and also just other, you know, women of color. You know, it's International Women's History Month. You know, so that they can be aspired to think about, you know, what's next for them. So Michelle Grant, it has been an absolute pleasure and absolute honor to have you. And everybody can find you on LinkedIn.
Yes, that's right.
No doubt
Louise.
Michelle is going to be back again another time. She has no choice. You have been locked into Revive FM 94.0 on the Power Hour with your host today, Louise Power. Have a good afternoon. Keep safe and take care.
Thank you.
ये आयशा है